Welcome to an episode of Jay Leno's Garage Restoration Blog. This is where we go back and we take a look at some of the projects we've been working on for the last decade, for the last 2 weeks, whatever. Some take a little longer than others. This is our never-ending 1925 Doble steam car, one of the most amazing vehicles of all time. Exciting, frustrating. When it's running good, it's unbelievable. When it's running bad, it's unbelievable. You're dealing with as much as 1,200 pounds of pressure. Combine that with 100-year-old metals that are constantly expanding and contracting. You get little leaks, and once you have a leak, then the whole system kind of falls apart. Plus, internally, it has to be literally hospital clean. The slightest bit of grit or dirt can just screw up the whole thing. So, that being said, we got to run it again. George, our steam guy, George is an all-around mechanic, but he's a self-taught steam guy, and he's done a wonderful job with this. This is the throttle assembly here. This was just corroded, broken, leak, whatever you want to call it. We managed to fix that, make some new pieces. You know, we use a lot of 3D printing, things of that nature. You have what's called a steam generator. It's not a boiler. Stanley is a boiler where you light a fire under a tea kettle and you have to wait for it to heat up 15 gallons. This works on the same principle as a tankless water heater. You turn the key. This is just one piece of the coil stack. Okay. Now in here, as I mentioned before, a Stanley is just a big tea kettle. You heat up 15 gallons of water. This, as I said, works like a tankless water heater. You have 600 feet of coil. This is just the top layer. Imagine 600 feet crammed into there, how tight that is. Diminishing radius. The whole thing only holds about 2 quarts of water. And what happens is, water goes around. Now, when you turn the key, an electric fan, Scirocco-type fan, spins, blows air through the venturi of the carburetor. It sucks up gasoline here from the float bowl, throws the gasoline into the coil stack, spark plug lights the gasoline. You'll see the fire ignite it right here. And then within about a minute, you have enough pressure to pull away because you're only heating 2 quarts of water and you've got basically a 3,000 degree fire. What happened with the coil stack was we had, once you get a leak in here, this split, and consequently, your pressure just disappears. It all goes out through the leak, obviously. And Jimmy managed to fix it in place. We thought we'd have to take the whole coil stack out, and it's heavy, it's thick. How you compress 600 feet into that, I don't know how they did it at the factory, but they did. We're gonna fire it up now, show you how this thing works, just to give you an idea. It's just so different. You see, a steam car is the exact opposite of a gas car. A gas car, you're trying to get the heat out. Steam car, you're trying to keep the heat in. Any place you see a steam leak, you're losing horsepower. You're losing, so you want to go around and constantly fix that. This is oil. You fill this with oil. Since water is not a lubricant, about every 88 revolutions of the engine that shoots a dollop of oil to lubricate it. And this works on what's known as superheated steam. The difference between superheated steam and regular steam is, with superheated steam, 1 drop of water expands 2,500 times. So that gives you an idea of how much power you can get in something like this. It's pretty, this car weighs about 6,000 pounds, but it needs no transmission because the steam is so powerful. You've got 1,000 foot-pounds of torque from rest. It's a 4-cylinder engine, but what happens is the steam pushes on both sides of the piston. Steam pushes the piston up, steam pushes the piston down. So you have the same power impulses as a V16. A 2-cylinder Stanley has the same power impulses as a V8 because steam pushes the piston up. There's no wasted motion. It's always working all the time. But I'm going to start this thing up. I want you to watch this window. You'll hear it whoosh. And it's like, well, here, let me do this. Now, the first thing you do when you get in a car like this, you want to turn on the water pumps, which push the water into the coil stack. I reach down, I pull up the pumps. Okay, oh, boom, see that? It's only 2 quarts, so I've got a full coil stack full of water. I now turn on the burner. Watch the window. That's pretty cool, isn't it? When that fire goes out, I'm ready to pull away. Now I always like to hold it for a little bit longer just to make sure everything is hot enough. Okay? Now I can pull away now, but I just like to give it a little extra time just because it's on you go. And now when you get 1,000 pounds of pressure, the fire goes off. See, what happens is you have a metal tray with 6 glass crystals on it. And when that metal tray gets hot enough, the metal expands, pushes the glass crystal, turns the fire off. When the car starts to cool, then the fire comes back on again, as you heard it go on and off as you go down the road. So that's basically how that works. We got it all back together. The guy's done a great job. Pear is now painting the hood where it got a little scorch from the heat. Well, that's where we are. Let me show you some of the other projects. Come on. I'll show you what's going on with the Imperial. This is my 1957 Imperial. It had the 392 Hemi. It was second to the last year. 58 was the last year of this motor. It just became too expensive to them to constantly make, and they came out with the 413, which replaced it, which was pretty good. But the Hemi, when you did a little bit of work, it breathed better. We're just doing this car back to stock. When I bought it, the original, bought it for his wife. It was too big for her to drive. She got scared of it. So he just parked it. He put it away. Original chrome, we haven't touched any of that. We've upgraded the paint in areas. I had the hood blow open on me and it bent back, so we just decided to repaint the whole car. But we did it in the original color. Vintage Air helped us out. The air conditioning was okay, but it ran on Freon, which you really can't get in California or just about anywhere else. So Vintage Air did a wonderful job helping us integrate modern air conditioning pieces into this system. Brassworks did the radiator for us, but we just want to be stock, because, you know, it was pretty fast. It was, what was it, about 335, 340 horsepower stock, something like this. This thing actually goes pretty good. And I think we've reached the point now where a classic that's all original is probably worth more than a hot-rodded one. You know, 20 years ago, you get these hot-rod 57 Chevys, $250,000. Now they're back down to 80 grand, 110, you know. I think we move on, you know. You go from the 57 Chevy, now the nostalgia car is the Japanese cars of the 80s and 90s, you know, in the same way the 57 Chevy was when I was in high school. But anyway, that's what we've done here. It's almost back together. We've kept it original. It didn't even upgrade the brakes. Brakes are okay, not bad, but they're just huge boaty, floaty cars you go down the highway in, so they're a lot of fun. We're waiting for Iskandarian to send us a new camshaft. And again, we're putting it back to stock, so it'll run exactly it did when it was new. Come on, let's show you what else we got here. All right, this is my 1940 Indian motorcycle. George has done a wonderful job rebuilding this. I had an accident a while ago, another stupid accident. Guy had a wire across the driveway. I went to make a U-turn, the light was in my eye, there really wasn't any flag or anything. Boom, it hit me, it just knocked me off, just literally totaled the bike. And it's probably the best thing that ever happened, because once we started rebuilding it, it had so much filler and fiberglass. It was heading for
poorly repaired.
Yeah,
all the way through.
It was not well maintained. You know, there was a time when you could buy these for $25, and people did what they could to patch them back together. George has done a wonderful job on the motor, the clutch, and of course Jimmy has built a brand new from scratch sidecar body. Look at all the work on this. We'll go over that in a second. Let's start with the engine itself. What were the problems with this, George?
Well, my job was easy. Jimmy pulled the engine out and handed it to me,
right.
So that was easy. Pistons, valve job, bottom end was good. I rode it back after your crash and it was bent, and the clutch worked. So put it all together, put the engine in, the clutch wouldn't disengage. So all back apart again, upside down, crankcase crank and everything off to fix the clutch. What happened was the release shaft, this turns, lifts the pressure plate off the clutch discs. This just twisted and broke.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, look at that. Look at it. Just sheared.
So
this is going to be my first time riding a bike again since the accident. And I went to start it. We couldn't get it in the gear. Well, just my luck, it didn't break pulling out and have another accident again.
yeah, we're thankful for that.
I keep telling myself, oh, I always got one more good crash left, and after that I'll retire. Well, now I'm thinking I got one more good crash anyway. But anyway, hopefully it won't happen with this one.
No. That's all I did, though, was the engine. Jimmy was just working on this 24/7.
He bills me for 24/7.
Yeah.
But he mostly is working 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill him for
But you know
24/7.
It's worth it at twice the price. Look at the job. Look at the job he did here, making these pieces from scratch. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's stronger. This thing, well, you could put your foot through the floor, and it had plastic filler.
It had fiberglass on the bottom
Yeah.
and a lot of filler. The whole bike had stuff we had to, we fixed everything because once they had the accident, we started finding things out.
Right.
So we redid the whole thing from the frame up. Even the sidecar frame, we've repaired that. Everything from the frame up on that too. So it's like you said, it's a good thing that we found what we found,
And this is just a wonderful bike to ride. These old Indian 4s, just bulletproof, all torquey. They're only about 40 horsepower. Can we fire it up, George? We haven't fired it since George got it all together.
Well, let's hope so.
Let's see what happens.
These things are really weird in that when you kick it, it doesn't, the engine doesn't just whip around like,
Right.
It just kind of like stepping on a plunger.
Right.
But, so you want to choke it?
Choke it a little. I'll let you turn it on.
Key on. Okay, let's try it.
All right.
Gonna
Bit
be
of
about-
retard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, she'll go.
Choke on? Choke on?
No, choke. It would be dead if the choke was on. Choke it, one kick, take the choke off, quarter on the throttle.
That should go into gear, all right?
Yeah.
It's not touching the ground, right?
One is all the way back, you know that.
Yeah. That's first. Very smooth. That's 60 miles an hour. It's great. And you can lock it off like that.
Downshifting with the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
And, there you go. That's first.
That's second, eh?
Hit the brake. Hit the brake.
Yeah, it's great. Great job. Well, this is going to be so much fun. Get it back on the road again. And I like these colors.
It's the same color as your 57.
57, yeah.
Cadillac.
And Per, our painter, of course, did a wonderful job, too. It's fun getting a band. Of course, Mike Thomas,
Yeah,
the Kiwi Indian. He's a
great guy.
If you
Lot of
have
help.
an Indian, well, you know him already. You probably know who he is. But Kiwi Indian he just has every part, knows all about him, just done a wonderful job. He put an electric starter on my 47 Chief, which I had bought from a guy 20 years ago, but had such high compression pistons, but you could barely kick it. So when you stalled at a light, he has an electric starter kit that just works fantastic. So
And he got us the forks.
Huh?
He got us a new set of forks
Oh,
for
you
this
got a new
bike.
set of forks for this too. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, very nice. So cool. So let's go over to the sidecar. Tell us what was involved here. You made all of this, didn't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, pretty much all of it's brand new. We changed a couple things, but mostly the old one was really beat, like I said,
Right.
fiberglass. So we decided to make it over again. We kept it all the same. We changed the windshield a little bit, had a little fun with that. We kind of cut things off. We're not putting the spare back on it. We're trying to save some weight.
Right.
The bike has a lot of extra weight as it is already.
Right.
This thing weighs like 110 pounds alone.
Yeah.
So along with that and that whole frame over there, we're trying to lighten it up a little.
And all these trim pieces. Look how beautiful that looks.
Yeah, we put
And
it
you
back
made
to
this as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we made all that from scratch here, but the trim pieces are pretty much traditional like they would have been, so we put it back like Indy would have had it, as close as we could get, And we're about ready to mount it actually on the frame and then tie it up to the bike. So you'll be riding it pretty soon here.
Yeah, we're riding it pretty soon, so very cool.
We got to sync the brake up on the sidecar so it brakes at about the same time. Me and George will do that together, and then wire up also the brake and tail light on it, and she's done.
Let's go over here to the barn special. This is the barn special. If you go to the restoration blog from about 4 or 5 years ago, I think we went into depth a little bit of history. I got this from Greg Barnes, the son of the owner. Greg was one of these guys who had no money but was a talented fabricator, and he made everything himself. Remember, this was built to run Pikes Peak in about 51 or 52. Al Unser was going to drive it. Aircraft brakes, these are all aircraft surplus stuff. Quick change rear end, LaSalle transmission. This is how hot rods were built in the late 40s and early 50s, you know. It's the new, quote, back then, overhead valve Cadillac engine. He built the radiator. Jimmy, you went through the brakes and actually looked pretty good, didn't they?
He's built an amazing piece here, so, you know, you can be doing this kind of work your whole life, but you start working on something like this and you can be humbled real quick because the guy did such amazing work, you know, and the stuff he did makes it kind of hard to do, but we're trying to keep it all like it was, rebuilt the brakes, steering wheel was falling apart. We just cleaned it up, reshaped it and fixed it to keep it on there. So we're trying to just keep everything that he built here, just clean it up, make it all work again. George is probably gonna get it running here soon, so we had a broken throttle, linkage, you know, stuff like that. So just going over a little at a time, getting everything back to functioning, and then hopefully George will get it fired up, and that'll be fun. And we're thinking about maybe making some tin for it, maybe make a clamshell body for it that might dress it up a little in the future.
Well, the original body was a stretched Austin Healey body. That got thrown away. Look at all the drilling for lightness here.
Yeah.
And this is the hot rod setup back in the 40s. You get an old LaSalle transmission and you hook it up to this quick change rear end.
Well, and a lot of the stuff he's done, people are doing nowadays, you know, driving the generator off the flywheel, I mean off the shaft. Then you actually look at the brakes and the master. They're doing this in trophy trucks right now, modern day.
Right.
So, you know, there's guys that come in and look at this that are building, you know, race cars and stuff that always come busy, and they see this.
Look at this throttle linkage. If you
watch
play
this.
Violin. Oh.
Here, we'll do it. We fixed that so it all works okay now.
Isn't that great? Look at that. Yeah.
Motorcycle carbs. So, yeah, he had to figure out a way to have all these cars work in sync and be able to adjust and finite adjust here. And just everything he did was brilliant. The fuel is delivered by a chain drive in the front. That's the fuel pumps up front. George is going to have fun with this stuff too, but he knows a lot about this and he's been looking at it. So, you know, it's something we're doing, you know, little by little on the side between other projects that we're working on. So hopefully we'll actually maybe have it running. This thing will do a donut out front, you know?
It works for me. Let's show you a vehicle that became a hero during those horrible fires a while back. Come here, take a look. Well, this is my 1941 American LaFrance fire truck. This kind of made a name for itself when we had those horrible fires here in California. I heard from my friend Todd Eves at Out of This World Barbecue, and he had an idea. Let's go feed the firemen. And I said, why don't we take my fire truck? And then I thought, I don't know, it looked kind of show-offy. Guys are working hard and you show up in some fancy fire truck. But when I got there, the chief thanked me because, you know, you're in an area where everything is gray and burned and everything's been destroyed. And the firemen got such a kick out of seeing this big shiny thing pull up, you know, that they had fun asking me questions about it and feeding them out of it and all that kind of thing. The reason we're able to do that, my friend Dave Kalaki, who, we lost Dave. You might remember he put the, helped us put the power steering in this. Big guy, strong as an ox. I guess an aneurysm or a blood clot. He died. You know, it was a tough time for all of us. He was just an amazing guy. Performance truck repair is his shop. His sons are running it for him, and that's what he does. He repairs the real fire trucks for the real firemen, not us phony guys that just show up with food. We'll miss him. This truck is dedicated to his memory because I'll never sell it, and every time we take it out and do it for a charity run or something like that, we'll think of Dave Kalaki. So, yeah, it's too bad. Here's some pictures of it at work. Take a look. Now, project it's been finished for quite a while, but we've upgraded since then. The folks at Kinzer Chassis did the chassis for my '68 Bronco, and you know, it's a great company because whenever they come up with an improvement, oh, well, you got to put this on. We want to put this on. Oh, okay. So they could flew all the way out there, all the way out here rather, to upgrade the chassis a bit for us and coordinate the shocks and get everything all set up. And boy, they did a wonderful job. Here, take a look. This is my '68 Bronco. We kind of resto-modded it. It's got the Shelby GT500 engine in it, 5-speed Kinzer chassis. This is Thomas Kinzer. This is his company. He built the chassis. Did an amazing job. Runs great, drives great. But you know, when you're a perfectionist, I get, Jay, I think we can make a little bit. I go, Thomas, it's fine. I love it. No, I think I can make it better. So they've come out again to kind of go and change. Now, new shocks, right?
New shocks.
Teamed up with a new company. Who is that?
So that's Tractive out of the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yep. They've been in the OEM supercar market and never really got into the off-road market.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're partnered with them to bring it to the U.S. and get into the off-road market with them.
Okay, now this she'll sit a little bit higher, right?
It will sit a little bit higher, yeah.
Because I was kind of riding on the bump stops.
You were
before.
riding on the bump stops,
but,
yeah.
but it's a Bronco, so it's not supposed to be a Cadillac. It's supposed to be a Bronco. But I imagine it'll run a lot better with this.
It will, and you're going to have some semi-active control touch screen inside.
Right.
You'll be able to play with dampening front and rear and pitch and roll.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
This is just a wonderful vehicle because it doesn't weigh anything. I'm glad I didn't have this when I was 16 because it's got almost 800. It's 760 horsepower. Plus, we played a little bit, so we might even have a little bit more than that. But all right, well, we'll see what she does. But I'll let you get back to it. We'll check back with you in a little bit.
All right,
okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Let them work. Hey guys, I snuck it out last night, and boy, it drove great. It really, a big difference. I kind of knew it, but I didn't know what it was supposed to be. I was kind of hitting the bump stops before,
yes.
so just bam. I thought, okay, well, it's a Bronco. That's what they do. But then I realized, no, that's not what they do.
No, it's not.
So
No.
tell us exactly what we did here.
So we had the original suspension on here, the Fox shocks. And
Right.
We took those off and put the Tractive shocks on. It's a semi-active shock.
Right.
And has an in-cab display. So you can control compression, rebound, and pitch and roll.
Yeah, all from a digital.
All from a digital controller inside.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and that all happens like 6 to 10 milliseconds, depending on how you have it set up in the cab.
Well, you know, it's so funny. You watch these shows where people do a car in a weekend. And you can. It's a real long process.
It is.
And you know, I'm not a suspension guy, obviously, but I thought lowering it might make it a bit more
Stable.
And actually, it's the other way around.
Yes, especially with Tractive shocks.
Yeah, because when I hit that bump stop, it's like a kidney punch every 2
Right.
seconds, you know.
Yeah.
And now, although it's about an inch.
Yeah, about an inch higher in the front and
Right.
about an inch and a quarter in the rear. Yeah.
Much better, much better. So, plus I can see over more.
Right.
Yeah. So no, it's really great, and with 760 horsepower, cures any problem you have.
Right.
So tell us about these shocks.
We can definitely get Rob, he's the owner of Tractive,
Right.
to tell us more about them and go in more detail.
Rob, come on in. How you doing, my friend?
Good, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Cool. You guys from where? The Netherlands?
Netherlands,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
most Americans have no idea what that is.
Somewhere in Europe.
It's somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
But no, just a tremendous reputation in Europe and here as well. So tell us what we have here.
we noticed that we could do plug and play with the BMW motorcycle, the GS models.
Right.
So you remove the shock, put in our shock, connect it to the original wire harness, and you get no fault error in your display.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and we could make the shock special to customer request, make it longer, shorter,
Right.
heavier spring. And then a couple of years later, we found out we could do the same with Porsche and BMW cars. So the 997 had PSM, and the newer cars also. So we could remove the shocks, put in our shocks, hook it up to the wire harness,
And you're fine.
and we
Yeah.
could use the original button.
And European standard is much, in America, you can put anything on anything. But in Europe, it's very, very strict, isn't it? If you,
Yeah.
like in Germany, where you can go 200 miles an hour if you want,
Yeah.
you can't change a part unless it's absolutely approved.
Yeah.
So that's like a little extra that kind of gives you a vote of confidence. you
Yeah,
know?
correct. And the other thing is, we supply to OEM.
Right.
We supply to BMW. In the 1000 RR, XR, and R is our valve.
Right,
We supply to Ducati
right.
and to Bombardier in Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
So all our production lines are OEM approved.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's not possible. We have also now some small OEs. We supply to Pagani,
Right.
Dallara, Hennessy, Klickenhaus, and then there came some Porsche guys,
Right.
restomods. I said, yeah, I have an old Porsche, can you make something there? So we have for all the models from the 3, 5, 6 till now, we have standalone systems. So here inside this car is also a standalone system. We developed our own control unit with a G sensor, and that measures what the car does and reacts on the input from that sensor.
So with the controller, now Rob can hop in the Bronco, or Jay, you can hop in the Bronco, and you can make it perform the way you want it to perform,
Right.
or Rob can make it perform the way he wants it to perform.
I guess the biggest problem was translating Tennessee to Dutch. or
That's
Dutch
it.
to
That's
Tennessee.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to
Yeah.
go to English. Then when you get English, got to go
Right.
down
Yeah.
to Tennessee. As it gets.
Yeah.
It's a long and involved process.
So it allows a lot of flexibility
Yeah.
from customer to customer to gain what they want out of the vehicle.
So you do motorcycle, car, truck, all basically using the same valving, but obviously adapt. How does it work exactly?
Inside is a coil.
Right.
We get a magnetic field.
Right.
And we have a small slider, and that opens a hole or close a hole,
Right.
or every step in between because it is proportional. So depending on the input from the control unit, there goes a certain kind of current to the valve, and that defines the position of the slider.
Right. Okay.
And because we use a bleed, so we can make it very soft in low speeds.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've got my 32 Packard over there. It's completely stock. And it has a shock control, a very simple version of it. You have the shock and there are holes in it. And you click it this way, more air goes through, shock does.
Yeah.
Tighten the hole, shock hits. So,
You can compare it with when you have a one-way shock.
right.
You can adjust it with a screwdriver or with a turning knob.
Right.
You must see this as a very quick screwdriver that is inside the shock and do it by himself.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. No, very cool.
And that's static too, right? Like your Packard's static.
Right.
So once you click that, it's in that position until you get back out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And this is reacting every 6 to 10 milliseconds
Right,
the
right.
whole time you're driving.
No, fascinating, gentlemen. Really, it's fun to see this technology applied to a pretty primitive vehicle. I mean, this is about as basic as you get. This was primitive in 1968.
Right.
So, you know, so
Yep.
to put this much horsepower through it. And, you know, a lot of guys do it with the stock chassis, which is just an accident waiting to
Right.
happen, you know. With this Countach chassis, everything, it's meant to take the horsepower you're putting through it.
Yeah.
A lot of people modify cars and just put 5, 6, 7, 800 horsepower through a system that's designed for 115 horsepower, and you just get
Right.
everything twists and turns. Yeah, very nice, very nice. All right, I'm here with George Swift, our mechanic. This is my 63 4-cam Porsche 356 Carrera. You know, just an amazing car. When I found this car, it belonged to a father. The son called me, he had passed away, did I want to buy it? And I said, I got a Porsche for sale. And I said, yeah, I'm not really a 356 guy. It's a Carrera 2, Carrera 2 4-cam. Okay, that was the racing engine, more or less. That was the one to have. That was the hottest Porsche you could get in '63. I went and I looked at it. I was amazed by the condition of it, and I thought, well, let me find a 4-cam Porsche guy, because that's not my area. I don't know that much about it. So I asked her, who's the closest and the best 4-cam guys? This guy named John Wilhoit. I said, so I called John Wilhoit. John, I found this car. Could you take a look at it for me? Whatever it costs, I'll be glad to take care of it. Just want you to check it out. He goes, what's the license plate? And I told him, and he said, that's my car. I restored that car myself. So when I heard that, I said, why don't you meet me at the house? So I went over there. I bought the car from the son, blah, blah, blah. Now, John is one of the premier 4-cam guys in the country. Plus, he does a lot of updating on Porsches. I put his short shifter kit in it. Great, changed the car. When I got this thing, you turn the key, there'd be a lot of smoke because the oil would come back in the line and it would just blow a lot of smoke. So he had a ball check valve system we put in to keep that from happening, so now it doesn't smoke anymore. So I trust any innovations he has. This is his latest thing. He came up with his own, well, here, these are some brand new Spax shock absorbers. I'm seeing them for the first time right now. Okay. Let's take one out here. Now, the Spax shocks are usually yellow, as I remember. These ones, he had them painted black, and then he does his own valving on them. We're going to put these on the car. I trust every modification he's done to this. It just made the car better, faster, and I'm anxious to try these. It handles fine now, but I'm just curious to see what a difference these make. So if you're interested in this, from the man who developed the car, these are the ones to get. So here's his website. Here's how to get in touch with him. Let's put it up in the air, George, and put these shocks on and see what difference they make.
Do it.
This is a wonderful car. The Carrera GT is a perfect successor to this car. This is what you had before you had the modern Carrera GT, which is now 20-something years old. But just a wonderful driving car. Keep that tack at $7 grand all day long. It's just fantastic. Wilhoit built this car back in the 70s, and he was going to keep it for life, but at the time, I think a guy offered him $16,000, which was just crazy money in '76 for one of these cars. You usually get them for $3,000 or $4,000. So he sold it, and I think he regretted it. And that's the guy I got it from. He held it for like 30 years, something like that. And then I bought it. And so I think John was thrilled to know the car never left the area and was still around. And it's got the racing seats in it, and it's got the sunroof, and it's just a fabulous, fabulous driving car. It's almost hard to relate. Well, we did a whole video on this car. Take a look. You can go back on Jay Leno's Garage and see the video a little bit more in depth than this. This is just about the shock, so we're going to change those and take it for a ride. And on the next time, we'll give you an update about how they feel. It's hard to believe I've had this car for 14 years. That's right, we upgraded the wheels too. The magnesium, old magnesium wheels are scary. These are aluminum replicas, and they're perfect if you actually want to drive the car. We put conies on it, and they handle fine with those. Never had a problem with it, but I trust John, so I'm curious to see how it is with the new shocks.
Back up. No, I think I got it.
Well, 17 minutes later, we are done. That's the nice thing about Wilhoit's stuff. It just bolts right up and it fits fine. I'm going to take it for a test drive. George, you can get back to watching the Real Housewives shows. I know Joe, he lives for those, whether it's Beverly Hills or New Jersey or someplace. So you enjoy your Housewives shows. I'll take this thing for a ride. And George has put the shocks in. I've got John Wilhoit with me, the man behind the shocks, and the man who built this car 50-something years ago. You know, it does feel better. I don't know whether it's psychological. Yeah. But it feels planted and a little more firm.
Well, and the beauty is you can adjust the stiffness to suit you. And the adjustment is in on the compression and the rebound. Right. So it's not like a Coney where you're only adjusting the rebound.
such a great car, isn't it?
Oh man, it is.
Did you ever get yourself another 4-cam?
I have 3 4-cams.
Oh, okay. So I got 3 out.
Yeah,
Excuse
come
me.
on.
Some people only have 1 4-cam.
Yeah, well, you know, you're a real 4-cam committed
Oh yeah.
guy if you got 3.
Boy, it takes that nice and flat.
The shocks now that we're having made by Spax in the UK, we have tried a couple of different valving setups, and the way the Spax shocks work is really neat. It's Krypton gas, but it's got an adjustment feature, and it's a dial on the bottom of the shock housing. It's got clicks that you can click it either harder and you can click it lighter.
Right.
And what those different settings do is they restrict the oil passing through the shock, and it changes the rebound and the compression. So unlike a Coney where you can dial in, a rebound setting, this actually changes the rebound and the compression together, and it's a standard 60-40 ratio, which...
Now you keep them the same side to side, correct?
Yes.
Like if I'm driving by myself, so that means there's almost 200 pounds more on this side of the car. Would I do an extra click up and one less there?
I mean...
Keep them all the same?
I'll tell you, I haven't gotten that far into it, but I don't think you'd probably want to do that, because then every time somebody else got in the car, you'd have to get out there and change the setting. But it's really a neat setup, because it enables us to have a shock that works on a Speedster, and then we can use it on a coupe, and like on the Carrera, where it's got a little more weight in the back, we may want to up the setting in the back a little.
Why does the Carrera weigh a couple 100 pounds more?
The Carrera has the oil tank. The engine itself is a heavier engine. The exhausts tend to be a little bit heavier and bulkier on the Carrera. And then the Carrera had a lot more padding in the rear of the car to kind of... It was a touring. The Carrera 2 is it's a luxury touring car.
Right. Well, I love this thing, and it loves to rev.
Yeah, it's a great car. I mean, I didn't tell you about the time I ran from the police in this car.
Well, what happened? No.
I was taking it out for a test drive when I first got it done, and I went down this street where there's always these cops, and I saw them on their motorcycles. The one hopped on his bike and came after me, and he had one of those new Kawasaki 4-cylinder, really fast ones. And so I made a quick turn and then another quick left turn, and I turned down the wrong street. It was a dead-end street.
Right.
And so when he got down to the end of the street, this guy was cracking up. He said, "Thought you could get away from me, huh?"
Well, I love that you said, so I went down this street that has a lot of cops. I mean, the fact that you didn't go, oh wait, a lot of cops, I'm going to go down another street. I think you deserve what you got, because you got to get,
You're probably right. In my lifetime, I've gotten 3 tickets on that street.
Oh, really?
I'm embarrassed to tell you that, but yeah, so obviously I haven't learned my lesson.
There you go. Well, there you have it. Let's see what else we got going in the garage. This is an area of the shop you haven't seen for a while. I don't know if you've seen it all, actually. This is the upholstery area where we do all the upholstery. This is my 1986 Countach. Come on, let me show you what's going on here. We thought we'd just redo the upholstery. Of course, being Italian, well, the turn signals weren't working, the flashes went out, and long-suffering Jim, he went through here trying to find of course, the reason for some of these problems. And I think he discovered them, some bad Italian diodes, so he's replacing those. The seats are done, they're up there. You can take a look. And we should have this thing running, another week or two. So we'll see you guys then.